No, Elsa, we can't simply let these facts go. The newest addition to the Frozen universe left many fans smiling and happy by the end. Still, it takes a lot to make that magic happen. Every film has a lot going on behind the scenes, but trust us when we say Frozen 2 is special.
I'm just living the dream, Anna.
Join us here at The Binger as we pull back the layers of this movie. You'll be shocked to learn what it took to write the next right thing and create Anna's character arc. Spoiler, it ties in deeply with actress Kristen Bell.
Forgive me, maturity is making me poetic.
The kingdom is not safe.
Here's a fact that'll totally shock you. This Disney film is unique. Okay, so it's not that shocking, but listen to this. For the first time ever, the Mickey Mouse Corp theatrically released a sequel for one of their Disney princess films. You're thinking to yourself, that can't be right. We encourage you to look it up. There have been plenty of sequels to Disney princess films, but they were all direct-to-VHS releases. Saying that feels just weird. Just mentioning VHS makes us feel like a dinosaur. But yes, we're talking about films like Little Mermaid 2: Return to the Sea. Heck, even the Golden Age films like Cinderella and Snow White never got sequel consideration. It literally took 3 ages of Disney animation for that to happen. Think about what this gesture tells us about Disney and this movie. Clearly, there was a lot more invested in the sequel. From the animation team to the cast, Disney clearly reinvested their interest into stories that need to be told. Thank goodness they did, because we don't want to imagine this world without Frozen 2 in theaters. Alright, this is spoiler territory, so if your kid's watching with you and hasn't seen the movie, give them the old earmuffs treatment. This entry is all about that dark moment that spurs the third act of the film. Viewers who have seen the movie know exactly what we're talking about. Anna is all alone now, Olaf's nothing but a puddle, and Elsa is presumed to be gone. Hope is dim, and Anna is about to go all Arrested Development on us. She sings a beautiful song that we'll get to later and grows as a character. That moment is already unique, but the making of that scene just launches it into a whole other stratosphere. The writers wholly based Anna's character journey on Kristen Bell's real-life experience with codependence. Bell recognized her own struggles with using other people's happiness to define her own. It was a real raw performance in that animated cave. And Bell's proud of it. When director Jennifer Lee asked her what Anna struggles with, that was the answer, and that's what we got. The Sami people are indigenous to the Scandinavian region, and their culture features in the opening song of Frozen. The reference to their ancient vocal tradition and Kristoff's knockoff version of their clothes sparked debate on social media. To many, the allusions deserved more context and some kind of acknowledgement to where the inspirations were rooted. There's an argument to be made that Disney erased their culture in the first film. The lack of any kind of thanks rubbed so many people the wrong way. Fans argued that some sort of recognition was necessary for any sequel. Clearly, someone making Frozen 2 heard about this and aimed to make amends. It all started with trips to the region. The crew made multiple trips to Iceland, Norway, and their neighboring countries for pre-production. During those trips, they visited with Sami parliaments in Norway, Finland, and Sweden, as well as non-governmental councils. Disney signed an agreement and gave them advising credits on Frozen 2. It's not a perfect solution, but still, it was undoubtedly a step in the right direction for a company with a poor record with representing non-Western cultures. Please forgive us, we couldn't resist a Forrest Gump reference given the fact Sterling's character is a lieutenant. His role, Lieutenant Matthias, is one to remember. We're introduced to him as the group of adventurers brave the enchanted forest. If he didn't become your favorite after this film, we don't know what to tell you. Lieutenant Matthias proves his worth quickly and ends up becoming a pivotal character. We don't want to spoil his ending, but his connection to Yelena will bring a tear to your eye. However, something is worth noting about Brown's character. Matthias doesn't get a song in this movie, which is shocking when you put it in perspective. Olaf got at least one song in the first one. Heck, even the reindeer sing in Frozen 2. Well, it turns out they did have a song planned for him. Sterling K. Brown even recorded the track. Even more surprising, it was the first time Brown ever sang for an audition. In all his years as an incredibly talented actor, he never had to sing. We are shocked. Real quick before we move on, if you haven't already, subscribe to The Binger, and don't forget to turn on notifications because we all know how YouTube can sometimes be. And if you're on mobile, you can turn on notifications through YouTube settings. Enjoy the rest of the video. Jonathan Groff has Tony nominations for Spring Awakening and Hamilton to his name. Those are for his own roles too, not the shows in general. No question this guy can sing. If you're still doubting it, we've got a surprise for you. But before that, let's throw it back to the first Frozen. Kristoff charmed viewers and stole the hearts of thousands of viewers. The one thing everyone missed from Groff and his character was a solo song. The poor guy never got the spotlight, but to be fair, it wasn't the point of the movie. The whole story isn't even close to being about Kristoff and his reindeer Sven. Still, clearly the production team wanted to show off Groff's vocals. They could have kept it simple. A light monologue and then a poetic little number would have worked just fine. Instead, we got a chorus of reindeers accompanying this wilderness man. It's a fun song that's super memorable, but here's the kicker. Jonathan Groff voices all the reindeer parts. There are literally 18 tracks of him playing reindeer parts. If that's not beautiful, then nothing is. Josh Gad is comedy gold. The guy's been running the comedy game since The Rocker. Well, really since his role on The Daily Show. Anyways, we're pretty sure that's how he grew his improv chops and brought them up to a whole other level. Of course, we all know what his breakout role was. Parents and children alike adore him as Olaf, the sidekick snowman with an inclination towards fun.
I've always loved the idea of summer.
He suddenly became iconic, and Josh Gad can't talk anywhere without being recognized for the role. Which, for all the things to be noticed for, a talking snowman is a pretty sweet gig. What's even more surprising is Gad isn't known for voice acting. He certainly has the talent for it, but it wasn't the direction he headed down at the beginning of his career. So when he improv'd the Samantha joke in Frozen 2, we're pretty sure most viewers thought it was written out. After all, improv and voice acting isn't super common. Even when it is done, it often comes off awkwardly. This Samantha line is the exception, and thank goodness they went with that track. The journey to get Evan Rachel Wood as Queen Iduna was long and inspirational. We're not saying it was tough. In fact, it was the exact opposite. It was a joyful, exhilarating roller coaster that kicked off with fireworks. It seriously started the minute she walked in the door for the audition. Jennifer Lee and the cast told the press that they instantly felt a motherly vibe from Wood. Think about that. She came in for the audition and just screamed Queen Iduna before even reading the lines or anything. Talk about an instant fit. If you were wondering, she also sang the song Angela by the Lumineers for her audition. Maybe someday her audition tape will be released as a bonus feature on the DVD. We can only hope. She even got the call to tell her she got the role while she was visiting Disney World. It's poetic. Evan Rachel Wood is made for Disney. Every time you watch Frozen 2, we're confident you'll never see her character the same way. She already blended into the role, but this made things too perfect. The next right thing is something else. It's not the bop you belt in the car with your kids on the way to school. It's the song you play to get them to chill out and warp into an existential crisis. Okay, we joke. But seriously, props to songwriters Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez. It's a profoundly emotional performance that anchors the film and brings the story into its defining moments. Yes, it's from the same cave scene we mentioned earlier, which means it brings us back to Kristen Bell. Seriously guys, we're not kidding. Bell went all out, building Anna into a round character for this movie. Jennifer Lee and Kristen Bell recorded an emotional conversation they had about codependence and the emotions around grief. Lee then took that conversation and gave it to the songwriters to work their magic. The result is the next right thing. Knowing how much emotional construction went into making that song changes the whole scene. Adding that level of transparency creates a totally new feeling for the movie. Give us a second. We need to go grab some tissues. We'll be right back. It's been reported that Anna and Elsa's storylines in Frozen 2 diverge into two different story archetypes. For Anna, her arc is based on the traditional fairy tale structure that we are familiar with, and no. Differing from that is Elsa's arc, which is rooted in classical mythology and a hero's journey. Both are familiar to us as viewers, but they grow out of two completely different areas, which transitions nicely into Nock, the water spirit. Nock is a horse made entirely of water based on a traditional mythological character. It's said that the creature would test people by letting them ride on the horse's back. If they fell off into the water, they were abandoned and shown to be unworthy. The animation team even studied at equestrian centers and worked closely with horse trainers to get the movements precise. In total, it took the team 6 months to fully animate Nock. They dedicated half a year just to forming all these horses' movements and looks. Next time you watch the Nock scenes, just imagine the man-hours that went into each and every look and step. Those animators worked hard to make that myth come to life. No one can deny that. Traditionally, there are only a few ways to build a city from the ground up. There is old-fashioned brick and mortar, or Starship's favorite, rock and roll. Well, Arendelle is built from neither. The whole town is rendered through visual effects and lots of programming. There's no rock and roll in sight, well, unless you count the rock gnomes. For the first film, only a small segment of the town is ever shown. Go back and watch it. You'll find that much of Arendelle is undiscovered, and that's because the animation team simply never created it. Since most of the film is focused on locations away from the town, it made sense to invest time in other places. However, the production crew knew going in that Frozen 2 would be different. This time around, Arendelle was rendered entirely to its full scale. But wait, there's more! Turns out the animation team built the entire town from the ground up. They didn't even use the old models from Frozen. Sure, they replicated them for continuity, but it was still fresh and not copied. Talk about not taking the easy route. Well, that's all the time we have. If you enjoyed these Frozen fun facts, let us know in the comments below. Were there facts you wanted to see covered? Check out more on The Binger to see if we covered them earlier. Subscribe and like this video to keep up to date with all the latest at The Binger.